Weekly BCFC player profiles are sponsored by the Robertson Braun Group, Remax Kelowna. Thinking real estate in Kelowna? Think Blake Roberts and Marlene Braun. For more information, call 250-212-2888 or 250-878-5242.
Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Subway and the Subway Bowl. The Subway Bowl hosts and supports the BC High School Football Championships and amateur football around the province.
Welcome to Touchdown BC. I'm Adam Kordick. To my left is my co-host Ty Clark. Conference play kicked off this past weekend in BC high school football, and the BCFA is down to its final 2 games.
Adam, you can't forget about the community football, which is another big week in the books, and the UBC Thunderbirds took on the Alberta Golden Bears. Welcome to the Subway High School Report. Week 1 of the conference play is in the books for AAA high school football. There wasn't much movement happening in the Pacific Division, but already we've seen some big wins and some big losses amongst the powerhouse teams in the Eastern and Western Conferences. Now let's get into the action.
New West to Carson Graham. Opening cue, Carson forced a punt, and maybe they should have just taken a knee. At least that'd be better than kicking it to Ben Jernagel. Jernagel goes out left and looks like he's done for. Wrong. He sidesteps one defender, breaks a couple tackles, jukes by another, and this guy goes all the way. New West up 8-0. Still in the first, and if you haven't figured out the wing T offense, you might want to learn. Josh Ulango takes it up the gut, untouched, putting New West ahead 14-0. Later in the quarter, this time it's Sammy Sidhu in the reverse, and this guy was money in the championships last year, so why would this year be any different? He gets a nice block outside and runs it down Carson Graham's throat, and he just way too fast. After breaking a tackle, he races down the sidelines to put New West up 3 TDs. Fast forward to the third quarter now, New West up 37-0, and they don't take their foot off the gas. This time it's Lucas Sabout. And just to make it interesting, Juan Cespedes gets in on the action too, and he makes it look oh so easy. New West win big over Carson Graham, 51-0. Earl Marriott, Robert Bateman. First quarter, Spencer Smith goes in motion and takes a toss out wide, and he would score to put Bateman ahead 7-0. Earl Marriott has the ball, and Owen Dickey, under tremendous pressure, throws a ball to his intended receiver, but it deflects off his hands to Zach Kendall, who gets an extra 15 after the pick. And right after that, Bateman put another man in motion. This time it's big Anthony Bodger, who gets the toss out of the backfield and goes the other way. And after some nice blocks, he finds some room to run, taking it to the house. Second cue we go, and Bateman run it right up the gut to go up 21-0. And right after that TD, Bateman take a play right out of Bill Belichick's playbook with a sneaky high short kick, catching Earl Marriott by surprise. After being held to fourth down, Taranjit Bagri shows off his leg and drills it through the uprights. Bateman now ahead 24-0. Later in the second, Bateman in the red zone once again, and they'd continue their offensive onslaught with Aiden McDonald taking the direct snap to the house. Third quarter now, and Marriott try to get something rolling. Owen Dickey in the shotgun, and he decides to run with it, but you gotta hold on to the ball. Bateman strip him and take it the other way with the defensive TD. Later on, Bateman with the ball once again, and there seems to be a miscommunication in the backfield, and Marriott are able to recover it. Looking to capitalize, Alonzo Vergara put Errol Marriott on the board, but it's too little too late as they lose 38-7. How week 1 of regular season conference play would pan out from this past weekend. South Delta topped Belmont 36-27. Centennial doubled up on WJ Mowat 26-13. Mount Boucherie accomplished their mission 42-6. Tweedsmuir blanked Kelowna 47-zip. New West destroyed Carson 51-0. Terry Fox had their way with STM 37-20. And in a rematch of last year's championship game, Mount Doug beat VC with a TD in the last play of the game to win 33-28. Now it's time for the TDBC Top 5 teams in AAA. Topping the list are the reigning champs in a last-second defeat over Vancouver College, who moved down to number 3. New West sits at number 2 with a good old-fashioned beatdown over Carson Graham. Terry Fox are at 4 with a convincing win over STM, and Centennial makes a list after defeating WJ Mowat. Sequim, Holy Cross, first quarter. Holy Cross decides to air it out and test out Sequim's secondary. Brown hauls it in and high steps a couple defenders to put Holy Cross ahead 6-0. But that wouldn't scare Sequim, who come right back with a deep ball of their own. Josh Haydu finds his target in the post, and he would scamper down the left sidelines and deliver a vicious stiff arm. That'll move the chains. A couple plays later, and Sequim would go back to the pass game. This time, Haydu delivers a perfect screen pass after dragging all the defenders in, and look at the blocks they have downfield. Sequim gets oh so close to scoring. After that, Haydu decides to take it himself, and he's not afraid to muck it up, finding the promised land. Second quarter now, and Sequim continues their aerial assault on Holy Cross. Josh Haydu finds a bullet perfectly placed in the corner without a defender in sight as they make it look easy. Holy Cross would score to tie it up before they give it to their big man who runs it in. Holy Cross now ahead 21-14. Holy Cross with the ball again, and you need to give credit where credit is due. Sequim with a huge pick and a 38-yard return to put Sequim into great field possession. And guess what? That's right, Sequim goes right back to the air with Josh Haydu delivering another bomb, another perfectly placed pass over the sprawling Holy Cross safeties. Sequim down 21-20. Third quarter now, Haydu fakes the handoff, but we know what he's going to do. He hits Tyson Philpott in the quick out, and Philpott would do the rest, breaking 2 tackles, shrugging off another defender, and squeaks in for the TD. Another Sequim touchdown, and they get the ball back, and Haydu looks like a young Carson Wentz, firing another perfectly placed pass right into the right corner. But before it was all said and done, Marcus Brown finds the end zone once again, but it wouldn't be enough. Sequim wins 40-29. Now for a sneak peek at the scores in AA, starting with regular season conference games. Hugh Boyd crushed Nanaimo 42-0. Windsor hurts Frank 40-6. Bolinas wins in a nail-biter over John Barsby, amongst many more. And now to the Tier 2 scores from this past weekend. The BC High School football game of the week is this Friday night with WJ Mowat traveling to take on Terry Fox at Percy Perry Stadium at 7 p.m. You can watch that one at sportscanada.tv.
Hi, I'm G. Roy Stein with the BC Lions. You're watching Touchdown BC.
Week 4 of community football is in the books, and what a great weekend of football it was. Looked like a lot of fun out there. We had some hard-fought games, and that is exactly what you want to see out of these kids. Now let's take you to some of the highlights around the BCCFA.
Junior Bantam Chilliwack Blue versus North Langley first Q. Grayson Frick hands it off to big number 88, Logan Bukwitz. And Logan goes up the gut, pushing every defender away before running in for the 20-yard rushing major. Same cue, Bukwitz is at it again, and this time he finds a seam, cuts back inside for the 10-yard score. The second cue, Bukwitz looking for his touchdown hat trick. He will get into the end zone again. More from the Giants. This time it's a fake to Bukwitz, and Michael Hopwood gets the ball, makes one defender miss, and it's pure determination after that. He will get the touchdown. Next kickoff, North Langley gets on the board. Matu Gale first can't get control, but this kid was never worried. A couple guys missed before finding a seam with a beeline right to the end zone, and it is just pure speed after that, taking it the rest of the way for the score. Langley with some momentum in the second half. Mitchell Gibbs takes this toss, books it outside, looks to run down the sideline, has one defender to beat, and he goes right by him. The Giants would just be too strong though. Bukwitz will get his 4th touchdown of the game. Chilliwack Blue over North Langley Junior Bantam 33-14. Now let's take a look at some of the other scores from around Junior Bantam. The North Surrey Falcons beat the North Surrey Eagles. South Delta beats Langley, and North Delta beats Coquitlam. To some Pee Wee ball we go. Chilliwack White versus Meadow Ridge. The Giants looking to pass, but it's the Knights' Kessler Johnson picking it off, and he is off to the races. Gets a good block, and Kessler has one thing on his mind, and that is the end zone. He will get there for the pick 6. Chilliwack showing off some defense. Knights fumble it. Tyson Orgard tips it to Parker Clark. Clark picks it up and does a great job getting to midfield before getting taken down. Great play from the Giants. Knights storm right back. What looks to be a toss play to Devin Crenshaw is actually a pass. He will find an open Johnson, and Johnson takes it, runs with it, just stepping out before the end zone. Couple plays later, the Knights give it to Aiden Barrett, who powers his way in for the score. Late in the game, Crenshaw takes it outside, finding some room, makes a defender miss, cuts inside, and Crenshaw is going to go the rest of the way untouched. The Meadow Ridge Knights win 26-0 over Chilliwack Giants White. Now let's take a look at the rest of the scores from Pee Wee. Now it's time to take a look at the scores from Midget. North Surrey loses its first game of the season to Langley, who remain undefeated. North Langley beats Coquitlam, and Victoria beat Vancouver. Now let's take a look at the Midget standings through 4 games. Here is a look at the Bantam scores from this past weekend. Now let's take a look at the Bantam standings through 4 weeks.
The CFL and our partners at Football Canada want to make sure we keep growing, promoting, and investing in a safe game. Football Canada now requires all amateur coaches to be safe contact trained by 2017. By creating a standard of safety for all in our football community, we're making an already great game even better. Make sure your youth coach is safe contact trained, because making a safe game means making a better game.
After some disappointing back-to-back losses, the UBC Thunderbirds have suddenly found themselves behind the 8 ball at 1-2, but their Week 4 opponent would feature a winless Alberta Golden Bears squad, a team UBC has already beaten on the year, and it might be just what the T-Birds need to get their confidence back.
UBC, Alberta. Fast forward to the second Q. UBC already up 2 scores. This would be a field day for Michael O'Connor as he finds Will Watson to put the Birds up 22-0. Watson looked a little shake up on the TD, but he would stay in the game. Third quarter, O'Connor knows where this one's going from the get-go. Beautiful pass and catch to tiptoeing Trey Kellogg to put the Birds ahead 4 scores. Fourth quarter, UBC on the 4-yard line, and O'Connor finds Marshall Cook at the back of the end zone. This was just one of Cook's 3 touchdowns on the day. Later in the fourth, Alberta forced a punt, and I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but that's probably a bad idea. Marcus Davis on the return, and honestly, how fast is this guy? Blink and you'd miss him. Davis takes it all the way back, Birds up 46-0. Less than a minute left in the game, and well, this one is ugly. David Abayo runs the wrong side of Scott Pearson. He's got front row seats to watch the train wreck go down. AJ Blackwell caps off the day with a 70-yard fumble return as UBC destroys Alberta 62-0. Michael O'Connor played his heart out with 412 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. Will Watson led receivers with 131 yards on 9 receptions and a touchdown, and Marshall Cook had 82 yards on 3 receptions that all found the end zone. The Thunderbirds' next game will be at UBC when they take on the Manitoba Bisons this Friday night at 6 p.m.
Welcome to the UBC Report. Joining me in studio this week is KCU's own Gordon Randall, who looks like he's fresh off the practice squad. Gord's 62-0 game. What happened?
Well, a lot of good things happened if you're a UBC Thunderbirds fan. They came out early, took any momentum away from Alberta, looked really strong on the road to begin with, and then they really took the game over in the fourth quarter. And the big thing for a team that's been really struggling on offense to all of a sudden explode for 62 points ties is a huge, huge step in the right direction. Michael O'Connor has really been looking a little bit off this year so far, leading to a lot of questions for myself included. And he looked really strong last weekend, throwing for well over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Looked really comfortable in the pocket, delivered with confidence, and wasn't missing makeable throws to the extent that he had been so far early in the season. So if he can carry over that newfound level of confidence and poise that he seemed to show last week, then they're in a lot better shape moving forward here.
Yeah, there's certainly no lack of excitement if you're a UBC fan, that is. But if you look at the stat chart, you look at a name that not so familiar. Marshall Cook popped up for 3 touchdowns. Was that just a one-off, or can we expect to see that a lot more this season?
Well, he's a guy that we've seen a little bit of in a couple past years, but you're right. Before this weekend's game, he hadn't caught a single pass in the regular season. And I know he's been battling some minor injuries and things like that, but this was mostly a depth chart shakeup, and he took advantage of his opportunity. He only had 3 targets, but he caught all 3 of them and hit pay dirt 3 times. So I said on our show earlier this week that if he emerges as another target in that passing game that has really struggled behind Travell Pinto and also Will Watson, if he can come out as a third guy, especially with the loss of Alex Morrison, likely for the rest of the season, that's another big development in the right direction for the Thunderbirds. So there were certainly a lot of positives that came out of this game.
Gord, there was 531 yards of total offense for the Birds, only 74 yards rushing. Since Brandon Deschamps won the CFL, what are they going to do now?
Well, this is a trend that we've seen all season, and we saw in their homecoming game the week before against Regina, we saw them putting 7 offensive linemen on the field in some situations to try and run the ball up the middle. And I think their biggest issue right now is that the coaching staff hasn't really settled on a guy. They really liked Corey Nagata coming out of camp. I know he's been battling some injuries as well. We've seen Ben Cummings back there with some time. And the guy that I honestly think is going to take a stranglehold on the job, at least if he can pick up the playbook a little better than he has already, is Liam Mahara, a guy who's a former Vancouver College standout, a guy who has played at Western, also played here at UBC previously in a previous stint. Tons of talent, loads of talent, big, powerful runner. If he can really hit his stride and round out his game a little more, I think that you can see some more electricity there, but it's tough. They've really struggled with that through the entire season consistently.
Travell Pinto, the Swiss Army knife, has been getting a lot of touches on both sides of the ball. I mean, he had 2 receptions. He also had a big interception and a couple tackles on defense. What is his role going forward?
Well, it looks like it's going to be a big role in all 3 facets of the game because he's still one of their return men as well. And it seems to be that Blake Nill's staff's philosophy is find the best athletes and get them on the field as much as possible. This is not the first time we've seen a guy go both ways. A name like Ethan Sadowski comes to mind. Levi Hua's done it late last year as well on the line. And Travell is one of their most electrifying athletes without question. And he's a guy that can make up for maybe a lack of polish in terms of technique at certain positions by making up for that as an athlete. And he's going to be a big part of their team coming forward. I would caution the usage of him. I don't think that it's smart to be playing a guy in all 3 facets of the game, at least significantly. But I guess if you want to give him a handful of snaps on the defensive side of the ball as like a 6th defensive back, something like that, then that might work out. But watch out because he's not the most thick-built guy to begin with, and attrition could be a big factor there.
Next up for the UBC Thunderbirds is the Manitoba Bisons, who had their way with the Thunderbirds earlier in the preseason. Michael O'Connor didn't have an exceptionally good game. Do you take anything away from that affair, or do you have a completely different game plan going into this one?
Well, I do take some things away from that affair. I don't know if they'll carry over to this one. I mean, one of the things I took away from it at the time is that this looked like a team that was reading its own press clippings a little too much. And I think that they've finally been kickstarted into gear a little bit, so this one will certainly be a much more competitive affair than that one was. But this game coming up here is big because it's the only regular season time they get a shot at Manitoba. The 2 are currently tied in the standings, and this could very well be a game that determines who finishes in that 4th place spot and who misses the playoffs, depending on how the rest of the season pans out. And UBC is behind the 8 ball on that front because their 2 wins so far are against the University of Alberta, who appears to be the team that is kind of the bottom feeder in the conference, whereas Manitoba has only played them once, gets them one more time.
Manitoba Bisons have a really good quarterback in Teo Dizar, who's actually 2nd in the nation in passing, putting up roughly 380 yards per game. How is UBC's secondary in particular going to be able to handle the 3 wide receiver set of the Bisons?
Well, the good news if you're a UBC Thunderbirds supporter is that this is a system thing as much as it is a personnel thing. And Teo Dizar is a very talented quarterback. But this is the same offensive coaching staff that they've seen in Manitoba for years, and we've seen lots of guys put up big yardage and big numbers in that system. Cam Clark comes to mind, Jordan Yance. Teo Dizar is just the next guy in that line, and UBC, prior to the season, in last season's 2 games late in the season, showed that they really had a good grasp on how to stop this offense through the air. So if they can bring some of the same approaches that they did later in the season there, then I think that they have a really good chance to be successful no matter how hot of a hand Teo Dizar is at this point in time.
There you have it. That's Gordon Randall with your UBC report.
The BCFC is coming up on its final week of regular season play this weekend. The 4 teams that will be playing in the postseason are set.
with seeding the only thing up in the air. This past weekend, there was a battle for first place in the BCFC. The West Shore Rebels took a trip to Langley to take on the Rams with the #1 seed on the line. The West Shore Rebels have clinched first place in the BCFC this past weekend with a 38-29 win over the Langley Rams. They also made history with this pass from Ashton McKinnon to Nate Pinto. The 109-yard touchdown was the longest CJFL pass to date. With the loss, the Rams dropped to 6-3. This weekend, the Rams will visit the Okanagan Sun with the 2nd seed in the BCFC and a home field playoff game on the line. The Rebels moved to 7-1-1 and will host the Kamloops Broncos at home this weekend. We talked with JC Boyce, the head coach of the Rebels, and asked him about his team's win and also what clinching first seed in the BCFC means to his organization.
First of all, I'm incredibly proud of our kids and our coaching staff, right? Like, it's been a heck of a build here. The way we've rose up, and that just doesn't happen without a lot of effort. And, Coach Beatty and our strength and conditioning program and our defense and all of our amazing assistant coaches have hung in there to the end. Our athletes, I felt our defense, again, played very good football. It was the best game by far for our defensive backs and our pressure. And, you look at our O-line, what they do, and the way that Trey and Jamel ran the ball. Man, I'm just really proud for our kids. And, yeah, very excited to have home field advantage. We play really well at home, and we knew that was a big, big game. I was a little nervous, but I just am really glad the way our kids responded. We had fun. We as a team really came together and had fun that game, Adam.
Okanagan Sun visiting the VI Raiders in the first half. James Parker connects on these 2 field goals to give the Raiders a 7-1 lead at the half. In the third, Jake LaBerge drops back to pass, looking deep, and he finds his target, hitting Fabian Jacobson in stride for the 45-yard passing major. VI leads 14-1 in the fourth. The Sun find the end zone on this Keith Zyla QB sneak. Sun have one last chance to keep the game going late in the game on 3rd down, but cannot convert. The VI Raiders upset the Okanagan Sun 14-8. With the loss, the Sun dropped to 6-3. This weekend, they will host the Langley Rams with the 2nd seed in the BCFC and home field playoff game on the line. The Raiders move to 4-4-1. They will play the Huskers in Chilliwack this Saturday. We talked with the head coach of the VI Raiders, Jerome Erdman, and got his thoughts on his team's performance this past weekend.
Pretty happy with it. We said from day one our goal was always to get better and better each week, and we have done that. It was probably our most complete game. Our game plan beforehand was to try and win the field position war, and I thought we did a pretty good job. Like you said, our defense played great, but our offense moved the ball when we had to. Whenever we were pinned out in our zone, we seemed to do just enough to regain field position. And our special team, our cover teams, I thought played real well. So I thought it was, a good step forward for the whole team playing better.
The Kamloops Broncos won their 2nd game of the season against Valley 38-33 thanks to this 75-yard touchdown from Colby Hankel to Brody Bernier and this 65-yard INT return from DB Jordan Ango. With the win, the Kamloops Broncos move to 2-7. They will travel to Victoria to play the West Shore Rebels this weekend. The Valley Huskers drop to 0-9. They will host the VI Raiders this Saturday in Chilliwack. With 1 game to go, the playoff teams are set. We know that the West Shore Rebels will host the VI Raiders in one of the Cullen Cup semifinal games in 2 weeks, and that the Sun and the Rams will be playing each other again in the semifinals, with the winner of this weekend's game determining home field advantage. The BCFC's Offensive Player of the Week for Week 9 is West Shore Rebels running back Jamel Lyles. In the Rebels' win over the Rams, Jamel rushed for 184 yards and 4 touchdowns. The BCFC's Defensive Player of the Week is VI Raiders linebacker Dexter Shea. Dexter, in a win against the Okanagan Sun, had 9 tackles and a crucial interception.
The BCFC Special Teams Player of the Week is Langley Rams kicker, punter Tiernan Doherty. Tiernan was perfect in his field goal attempts, 5 for 5, had 5 punts averaging 35.8 yards, and was perfect on his converts.
That does it for Touchdown BC. Hope you all enjoyed. Ty, this week, Manitoba Bisons are going to come into town and take on the UBC Thunderbirds. Both teams are 2-2. This game has major playoff implications down the road.
You know, it's going to be tough. The UBC Thunderbirds are going to have to stop Teo Dizar.
Yeah, they will have to. And also next week, we'll bring you action from BC High School once again. And the BCFC finishes off their season. Thanks for watching. Go out and enjoy the games, and we'll see you next week.
Touchdown BC is sponsored by the Robertson Braun Group, Remax Kelowna. Thinking real estate in Kelowna? Think Blake Robertson, Marlene Braun. For more information, call 250-212-2888 or 250-878-5242.
Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Subway and the Subway Bowl. The Subway Bowl hosts and supports the BC High School Football Championships and amateur football around the province.
The CFL and our partners at Football Canada want to make sure we keep growing, promoting, and investing in a safe game. Football Canada now requires all amateur coaches to be safe contact trained by 2017. By creating a standard of safety for all in our football community, we're making an already great game even better. Make sure your youth coach is safe contact trained, because making a safe game means making a better game.